From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Friday, March the 10th, 2023. We open with more on the terror attack last night in Tel Aviv, where a Palestinian terrorist opened fire on 3 young men walking past a cafe. The 3 were on their way to a friend's wedding when the terrorist came up behind them and shot them at point-blank range. The Times of Israel reports that 32-year-old Or Asher was critically injured and is fighting for his life. 34-year-old Rotem Mansano was in very serious condition, being treated in the emergency neurosurgery ward, and 36-year-old Michael Asden suffered light to moderate injuries. He is hospitalized in the plastic surgery ward. The terrorist who fled was shot and killed by police near the scene. He was later identified as a member of terror group Hamas. The IDF said that after the attack last night, IDF and Israeli security forces were operating in the town of Ne'ilin at the terrorist's residence in the West Bank, writing that they mapped the home of the terrorist to examine the possibility of demolishing it, a measure that is sometimes taken by the IDF as a deterrent to commit terror attacks. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Rome meeting with its Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and other officials. He reacted to the news of the attack last night, sending wishes for the speedy recovery of the wounded, and he said, "We strengthen the security forces and the police who are fighting terrorists this night and every night." Netanyahu also responded to the emotional plea last night from Israel's President Isaac Herzog for Israel's leaders to find an immediate solution to the crisis over the planned judicial reforms. Cited by the Times of Israel, speaking to Rome's Spanish synagogue, Netanyahu said he welcomes all initiatives, saying we must remember that, especially these days of argument and debate within Israel, we must remember we are one nation with a common future. We are all brothers and sisters. And here in the U.S., 16 Jewish Democratic lawmakers sent a letter to President Herzog, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and opposition leader Yair Lapid regarding the judicial overhaul crisis. Representative Brad Schneider tweeted that he and Representative Jerry Nadler led a majority of Jewish House members in expressing, he wrote, our profound concern about proposed changes to Israel's governing institutions and legal system that we fear could undermine Israeli democracy and the civil rights and religious freedoms it protects. The letter reads, as members of the Jewish diaspora and friends of Israel, we are heartened by President Herzog's calls for compromise, and we call on the government to suspend its efforts to pass the bills. The White House held its first ever Jewish Women's Forum yesterday. Officials from the Biden administration and over 70 Jewish women leaders from across the country, including, according to the 19th news site, told exclusively by the White House, the heads of the major Jewish organizations that support gender equity, education, Jewish life, and civic engagement efforts. The gathering coinciding with Women's History Month. Among the participants, Deputy National Security Advisor Ann Neuberger, Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff, and U.S. Special Envoy to Monitor and Combat Anti-Semitism, Ambassador Deborah Lipstadt, who tweeted, "It is a privilege to stand beside these strong, determined Jewish leaders during Women's History Month." Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Friday, March the 10th. Live Shabbat services are coming up at 6 o'clock from New York City's Central Synagogue, followed by Shabbat services from the Hampton Synagogue. At 8:30, a concert of Yiddish Tango. At 10, it's Muzika with the Israeli band Efo Hayeled. At 10:30, a replay from the Hampton Synagogue, followed by a replay from Central. And coming up next, a look at this week's Torah Portion. And that's the JBS News Update for Friday, March the 10th, 2023. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well, and Shabbat Shalom.